Joining me today is a man that's a big upcoming fight on May 24th. His record is 15-1-1. He has 11 KOs. He's number 15 ranked WBA featherweight. He's also the holder of the WBC International Featherweight title. That is Lee McGregor. Lee, I appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
No, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I want to get into a few things. First and foremost, I just alluded to the fact that you have a big fight upcoming. You're about just a little bit over a month now, May 24th. Break us down just how you're feeling right now as you're going through camp. What are you feeling like? What's camp been like so far?
Yeah, no, it's been good. I think I'm in week 8 now of
Mm-hmm.
my training block. So it's been stepping up each week, sparring. I think we're in week 3 or week 4 now of sparring. Things are coming together very well, and I'm really looking forward to these last couple of weeks, last bit of hard work, and then the exciting part. Get
Mm-hmm.
ready for the fight.
So I want to get your thoughts on this card overall because it's a really unique card. You talk about it just being a Scottish card for Josh Taylor's Queensberry debut, and there's a lot of Scottish pride here. You're going to be fighting in Scotland and all these different aspects. When you just talk about that aspect, where you just know it's going to be your own home nation, where you're with your people that you get to fight in front of your fans, your family, and you just get to have this kind of this atmosphere around the card of a lot of people you can relate to that you know growing up. What is that like?
Yeah, it's going to be massive. I think Scotland's one of Scotland's biggest shows ever. The
Mm-hmm.
card is absolutely stacked with
Yep.
Scottish fighters. I think there's 14 fights.
Mm-hmm.
So many future stars. Obviously, present and Josh Taylor leading the pack for us all. So it's the first time he'll be back in Scotland for a long time as well. So I think we're expecting a sellout in the Hydro Arena. Um, we know the arena well. I've boxed there before
Mm-hmm.
alongside the same card as Josh Taylor. So and the fans really do come out and support the Scots. So it's going to be an unbelievable night.
When you talk about representing Scotland, what does that mean to you?
Means everything. I've boxed for Scotland, represented Scotland as an amateur all throughout my amateur career. And every time I've pulled that Scotland vest on, I've felt proud, and it's going to be the same come May 24th. It's another Scottish fighter.
Mm-hmm.
They say it's the battle of the Scots, and to kind of find out who the real King of Scotland is going to be in the featherweight division. So I'm looking forward to it.
You just kind of went right into what I wanted my next question to be is that you're facing another guy that's regarded as one of the top people in Scotland. So, as you said, the winner of that fight, I mean, let's just give it the facts here. It's going to be pretty much the winner because he becomes the King of Scotland in the heavyweight division. So, you got to take us through that component, knowing that there's a possibility that when you emerge, if you emerge victorious from that win, that you are the King of Scotland. Then you are the guy that is representing the face of the division from Scotland. What would that mean to you?
I mean everything. I've been there before at lower weights. I'm now
Yep.
coming up to featherweight, and I wanna do the exact same thing and show everybody that I am the best featherweight. I believe one of the best featherweights in the world. So it's time to prove that I'm the best featherweight in the country first, and
Yep.
then after that we go on and we push on and hopefully challenge for a world title.
I love that statement you just made because obviously, yes, the King of Scotland would obviously be a huge accomplishment. It would be awesome to be able to say. But I think your mindset's on something a little bit bigger than that. You've already fought on a card like Riyadh Season, which is an international thing, one of the biggest cards you can get on. And you obviously have those aspirations, like you just alluded to, of not just being a guy that's known in your nation, in the country, your side of the world. You want to be a guy that's fighting for world championships. You want to be a guy that's on that top level. Can you take me through that aspect where you say, okay, yes, this fight right now, I need to focus in, become the King of Scotland, take care of my business here, but you still at the back of your mind know you have to be thinking like, okay, I'm top 15 in the world right now in my weight class. I want to become that top guy in the world. Can you take us to that mindset a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Every fight now in my career is my biggest.
Yep.
It's life changing every single one that I go into now. So, and this one, of course, is my biggest fight because I know winning this, my opponent, I think number 4, someone with the WBC
Mhm.
as well. I've got the WBC international belt. This is for the WBC silver.
Yep.
So the winner of this fight's no doubt going to be then going on to fight for the WBC World Championship. And you see, I've ranked in the WBA as well.
Hmm.
Win this fight, I think I'm going to be ranked across all the governing bodies, and I'll just be waiting on my shot. But I think the WBC will be the main the main one, I'd imagine. But I'm ready for anyone in the featherweight division. I've proved myself time and time again, obviously at lower weights, and I have done so at this weight as well, but not on the big stage. My first sort of test of that was in Riyadh,
Mhm.
and I'll come off a long inactive spell and things like that going into that fight. So I was nowhere near my best. But this one coming up, I'm going to be firing, and I'm really back to my best, and I
Mhm.
need to be, and I will be.
All right, so you still have a few more weeks left of training camp, so I know you're gonna be better than you are at this point in time. But when you just look at how you're feeling right now, the fact that you're not coming off an inactive spell, where you're coming in pretty active overall, do you feel like this is going to be the best Lee McGregor that we've seen yet?
Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
I've had many ups and downs in this career, but I firmly can confidently say that yes, this is going to be the best version of myself. I've had the the big stage, the big fight.
Hmm.
First time in a long time it was. I felt like I dealt with it well, but now I'm back, and I'm going to enjoy this moment, but perform at my best.
All right, so I want to get into your opponent, Nathaniel Collins. He's had an incredible career at this point, too. He's 16-0. He's obviously a great fighter. You said this is a massive fight for you to go up against. Can you break him down for a little bit? Just kind of break us down his fighting style. Obviously, I know you have some different tips you probably studied in camp or whatnot, so you don't need to get into too much detail. But when you look at overall Nathaniel Collins, his body of work, what makes you excited about going in that ring and fighting him?
Yeah, I know Nathaniel very well. You know, we were on the Scotland team together as amateurs.
Okay.
We've sparred many rounds, uh, over 100 probably.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We've also fought as amateurs, so we know each other really well. I'm expecting a tough fight. He's well established at the weight. He's a big, strong featherweight, and so I'm expecting obviously a big, strong guy in front of me. But I do believe that I'm better in every department, and
Hmm.
this is my chance to prove it. So I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Is there any different mindset that you have when you go up against a guy that's obviously, like you just said, you sparred 100 rounds with him, you fought him already throughout his career, you've known him for so many years? Is there a different mentality? And if so, what is that mentality or mindset you have when you go up against a guy that you're so familiar in, like Nathaniel Collins?
Yeah, you can look at it a little bit, but at the same time, it's different. You know, you
Yeah.
get in a gym on a Sunday morning, some days with two people in the gym, big
Yeah.
clubs, head guards. You go down and you just having a spa. This is
Yeah.
going to be in front of, well, the whole world will be watching on the zone. There'll be a
Yep.
sold out 10,000 arena in Glasgow on the biggest stage possible. So that's what matters the most. Who can deal with? I feel like I've been involved in the bigger occasions than Nathaniel, although he has been involved in some big nights and big fights.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm just confident. I'm just confident I can get this job done and move on to bigger, better things.
All right, so you said that you believe you can compete with anybody in the featherweight division, and I just have to ask you this question. I don't want you to go looking too far past this fight because obviously it's a big fight in itself, but I can't hide the fact that I'd be very excited to possibly see the winner of this fight, and that could obviously be yourself fighting another guy that's around from that area, Nick Ball. He's obviously a world champion. He's a great guy. I know there's already been people kind of pinning you two against each other, and that would be a great fight to make down the road whenever that could come. Is that a fight that you have on your radar? Is that a fight that you would be interested in making sometime?
Yeah, of course, it'd be no point being in the sport if they're not the guys you want to be fighting, the world champions. You know,
Yeah.
I've won British, Commonwealth, European titles. I want to win the world title, and he's one of the champions at my weight. So of course I do. I
Hmm.
respect Nick Ball really a lot. You know, we've again shared many rounds with Nick. I've
Okay.
been down a good few times to the gym. He's got a great team. He's a great person himself. But just it's just strictly business. Same with Nathaniel. You know, I get on with Nathaniel. But these guys, I've got someone that I want. So yeah, we just all have to believe in ourselves, and the best will come out on top. And I think we all believe in ourselves, and we all believe we're the best. So time will tell. And this is my next step, Nathaniel Collins, and then after that we'll sit down and we'll see what's what. But I'm never going to back down from any fight, and I
Okay.
know both us being with Queensberry winning this fight, it's Nick Ball's name is going to get mentioned to me. So
Yep.
same as any other featherweight world champion. If any other names got mentioned to me and got offered to me, as long as it made sense and the offer was right, no hesitations.
All right. Well, I have to ask you then, because when you talk about the different champions at the featherweight division, right? Like the biggest one you could make in terms, if we're gonna make the best matchmaking fight to make the biggest brand, the biggest eyes on it, it would probably be Nick Ball because of you two both being geographically close to each other. Would you say that would be the champion you want to go for most, or is your mindset more so, okay, I have these four different champions out there right now. Actually, I think it's three because I think one's gonna be vacated. But if you're looking at all of them, like, is Nick Ball the one that you want the most? Is that the one that you'd be most enticed by?
It would be the biggest. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like the build up would be huge. He's got a
Agree.
huge support down in Liverpool. I've got a big support in Scotland. Definitely would be the biggest for me, profile wise, probably financially, everything like that. So
Sure.
yeah, definitely. But at the same time, any of these world champions, I'd jump at the chance.
Okay.
I know the other one very well. Angelo Leo sparred many rounds with him also when I was over
Okay.
in Vegas. There's obviously I know there's Bruce Carrington's there about. He's was just vacated his WBC silver that me and Nathaniel fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to come out of America, potentially fight him. There's so many huge fights out there for me, but
Yeah.
that's why I'm so locked in and so focused on winning this next fight because none of that can happen if I don't win this.
Love that, man. Well, I got one final question I got to ask about Nathaniel Collins before we get into some about your career and your journey to this point. And that's when you look at this fight, do you have any predictions yet? What's your thoughts on how the fight's going to go down against Nathaniel Collins?
I think it's going to be a great fight.
Okay.
It's going to be very exciting. I think it's going to catch fire eventually, and that's where I feel like I'll come out on top. I think I can outbox him, but I also think I can outfight him as well. So
Mm.
I think there's going to be a mix of both in this fight from both sides. But I believe I'll come out on top.
Absolutely, man. Well, I want to get into your career a little bit because your journey's been phenomenal. When you talk about the ups and downs and how you still managed to push through everything, get to the point where you're at again today. So I do want people to get to know you a little bit better. And one of those aspects is I said in the beginning that you go also by Lightning. I do have to hear the backstory behind that. How'd you get that nickname?
Just when I was younger, you know, I wouldn't say the name suits me that much now to my style because I feel like I've slowed myself down a little bit, gotten a
Yeah.
bit stronger, and sit down on my shots a little bit more. But when I was younger, I would throw crazy amounts of punches in certain amount of seconds, really fast and flashy. So that name was given to me, and it's just stuck now. And you know, it's like once you've got something attached to your name, you need to stick with it. So
Yep.
that's where that came from. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we got to get into your beginning parts of your career because you became and you still hold the record for being the fastest fighter to win the European, British, and Commonwealth titles. You achieved that in just 10 fights at the bantamweight division. When you talk about going into becoming a professional fighter and you emerge victorious so quickly, you have such an incredible quick rise to being at the top pretty much. What was that rise like and how were you able to reach and accomplish so much so quickly?
Yeah, it was amazing. Obviously, it was just my attitude, who I am as a person, how I am as a person,
Mm-hmm.
fearless. You know, there was fights that I was involved in that I probably shouldn't have been involved in that early on in my career.
Mm-hmm.
But my team believed in me and I believed in myself. And that fearless mindset made me, like you say, make history and become Britain's fastest ever British Commonwealth European champion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, you learn a lot going through all that. And I kind of feel like I was a victim of my own success a little bit because I achieved so much so early on and people forgot that. You know, I was 10 fights
Absolutely.
in and mandatory challenger for Naoya Nui world titles, and it was crazy the rise, like you say. So, and I think that's maybe when the obstacles came in the way, there was a lot of hiccups, and maybe that was due to the how fast I rose, and there was just kind of opportunities fell away, and then my career dipped a little bit. There was delays, then COVID got involved. So there's so many things outside of my control. But we're back now, and all that experience that I did gain early on in my career is has proven a lot, and I'm using that to my advantages now going forward.
And that's what I love because for so many people, right, when you have these highs, it sometimes is this point, and when you get some lows, then they kind of just fall apart. And it's very, very tough to rebuild themselves to get them back. And well, let's look at the fact you've done just that now. You've put yourself back in these great positions. And that's not an easy thing. I know I can just read these words out, I can read what you've accomplished and make it sound easy, but I know it wasn't easy. You did something that a lot of people can't go and out there and do. How were you able to push through? How did you go from this quick rise to then going 1-1 in the super bantamweight division and now going and taking 10 months off and building yourself back up? How'd you do all this?
Yeah, just it was very difficult, and I am going to be honest. A lot, I believe, a lot of people wouldn't have been able to get through some of the things I've gotten through. But my my daughter's definitely one of the main reasons why I was managed to pull through. Also, I came back home and built myself back home. You know, put my pride to the side a little bit and built myself back up on small hall shows and hotels and stuff where people probably laughed at. But it proved to be the best thing I done because I got the huge opportunity to fight in Riyadh, and I would never have been ready or gotten that opportunity if I didn't go away and build myself back in the background. So yeah, it was one of the best things I've done, and I knew going into Saudi, I knew there was a lot of pressure on me because with everything that I had been through,
Mm-hmm.
it was one of them. It was like if I don't win this tonight, I'm really going to be. I was already getting forgotten about, and even still now, it's hard to get opportunities up here in Scotland, and
Yeah.
all I can do now from now on is just keep winning, and I can't be silenced. So I know this. I'm not stupid. I know how this game works. If I lose, um, I'll get forgotten about. It's as simple as that. So I just need to keep winning, and everyone else will take care of themselves. They can't keep me quiet. They can't silence me when I keep winning.
So I want to ask you then, because another big part about boxing is that so many people are so much, it's a big stigma, obviously, about having the loss in your loss column. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people say it's the end all be all. I'm someone that says if you learn from that loss, it is what it is. You can rebuild yourself and be back, just as you've done yourself and many others have. But when you talk about going through these ups and downs, and yet you've now been able to get to the position you're at, and you just talk about growing as a person now, because like I said, I have to imagine it was somewhat humbling for yourself to say, okay, I'm going to come out now. I'm going to get better. I'm going to grow. I might have to go find a hotel. I might have to do these different things and not fight the stages I've already fought at. Did that humbling, in a sense, create a better person both inside and outside the ring for yourself?
Yeah, I suppose, but at the same time, it was difficult, you know, and I feel like
Yeah.
I was down, but someone was just making me keep carrying on, and I still can't really tell you why, but it was just I don't know. With everything I've been through in my life, I just think the only thing I could really turn to was boxing. I, I lost my mum the same day as I won the British title as an amateur, and then a month or so later, I was away competing at the European Boxing Championship, still just fighting through it all. Because if I never, God knows where I would have ended up. So I feel like boxing's been my saviour. You know, it's saved me and it's kept me. Although it's so frustrating and mentally taxing on the body and mentally,
Mm.
but I've just keep cracking on. And because it's all I know, and I would be lost without it. So um, when I come out the gym, I feel a lot better, no matter what my situation is.
And you just look at you as a person now, because obviously you've grown into a massive great person now. You've turned into becoming this person that's been able to persevere and have these different things. Do you think that's always been a part of you? Have you always had that mentality, or is that something you've developed and fine tuned as you've gotten older now?
Yeah, but definitely, obviously, it has been in me. But as I've gotten older and matured, I've matured a hell of a lot, especially in the last few years
Hmm.
probably since my daughter was born. To be honest, she'll be 7 coming this November, and the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, I was 20 when she was born, so still young, still doing things what young lads done. But she has changed my life completely, and I definitely wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for her. And that's just a fact. I've matured so much, and everything I do now is for my family. I've got a family that rely on me now, so I can't. Like I got away with a lot when I was younger. When I never had a kid, I could go away, go out, eat what I wanted, go out with my mates, like all the things like that everybody normal people do. But
Mm-hmm.
now all I do is if I'm not doing the school run with my daughter and then going to the gym, I'm resting and sleeping.
Mm.
It's nothing exciting happening really in my life, but I fight, I win, I go and spend time with my fiance and daughter on holiday in the sun, and I come
Mm-hmm.
back and repeat. That's all I do.
All right.
Um, so it's yeah, people could say, "Oh, it's boring when you're in your house and that you're not going out seeing anyone," but we're going to have the best time away in the sun, relax and recharge, and that's how I can get the best out of myself when I come into these training camps.
All right. Well, I also want to ask you a little bit more about another component you kind of touched up on a little bit ago, and that's about when you lost and you take a loss in boxing. All of a sudden, the fan bases and different people leave you, and it's a very, very tough sport when you talk about that because of the fact that you're fighting and pretty much all the pressure on yourself. You win, you get all the glory. If you lose, you get all the hate and all those different components. How have you learned to deal with that? Where you know that at some points, fans, people will turn on you, and it's not always going to be all praising you and loving on you. How have you learned to deal with that side of boxing?
Oh, massively. It's mental, it's mad, but
Yeah.
it's good as well. It's a good feeling, because when you do get back, and all them people that did distance themselves and sneak away or whatever, or have something to say, it's amazing when they come and try and creep back in, because I always knew, and I just thought, look, I'm a nice person. I'm not gonna be horrible to anyone, but I always make it clear that I told you I would be back, um,
Mhm.
and I know you didn't think I would, in the nicest possible way. I'm aware of that, but I'll still give you my time. But these things don't get forgotten.
Mhm. Absolutely, man. Well, I want to ask another thing about the loss in stretch before we get to Isaac Lowe fight, and that's that when you talk about those times when you went 1-1-1 super bantamweight division, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you learned from that point in your life, whether it be outside of the ring or inside the ring? What's the biggest thing you learned?
The biggest thing I learned from the law.
Yeah, from the when you that
Sorry,
time
it's
span when
just
you were at
getting
super
harder.
bantamweight.
My
Yeah.
phone's gonna die.
Oh, no worries, no
Um,
worries.
and yeah, just I was in. I'm in a position now where I feel I don't need like I can make decisions for myself.
Yeah.
If I don't feel like someone's right, then I won't do it.
Mm,
Whereas the situation that I was in when I got that fight offered to me, I've been very inactive again. I hadn't made much, well, made no money, and I've got a house, I've got a mortgage. These bills don't stop. So it was a huge opportunity for me. But looking back now, I should never have took that fight.
mm,
But we did. We learned a lot from it. I maybe wouldn't have got the Isaac Lowe fight, the Saudi opportunity, and things like that if I hadn't lost that fight. So, these things happen for a reason, but it was frustrating because I know for a fact, and I know words or people might not believe or whatever, but I never lost that fight because that guy was better than me. If
mm,
people knew what I'd been through for that fight, even just it was a miracle how I made the weight. Never mind getting and fight the way I did.
mm,
Just everything was against me. The time scale that I had to get ready for the fight. Um, Lots then activity going into it. But I need to hold my hands up because it was me that made the decision. I
okay.
said I'm fighting. I'm taking this fight. My good team, good coaches around me, and they advised me to not fight. But I overruled it because I was in a position that I had to. And yeah, it was tough. It was hard to swallow. But at the end of my career, when I'm done, I'll probably look back and say I wouldn't change it. because all the hell that I have been through in my life, I do still say it. I wouldn't change any of it, which is mad, but I think I'll be saying the same thing at the end of my career about that fight.
Man, I have a lot of respect for what you just said right there because that's not the mindset a lot of people are going to have. A lot of people will say, make a lot of excuses, put blame on other people, and things along those
Right.
natures. You're all good, no worries. But you right there just kind of said, okay, this is at the end of the day, it's on me. I made a mistake. And when I look back, though, I'm still going to live with that mistake because I think it helped make me the man and the fighter that I am today. How did you get that mentality? Because so many fighters and so many people in this world are going to make excuses in those situations. What gave you the mindset and mentality to say, you know what, this is the way I'm going to handle the situation. This is the way I'm going to embrace it and move forward?
Because I've been through not the same but similar things in life.
Yeah.
You know, like how I am in my career, how I approach my career, and how I am as a person is due to what I've been through in my life.
Mm.
And there was things that I've been through in my life that were tough. You know, we never had the greatest upbringing. You know, we never had. I was a dad and three brothers. We never had much hands as my dad did what he could, but it was tough. But and even just back when I was a young boy, sparring my older, bigger brother, you know, he used to beat me up all the time, and I hated him at the time, and it was the worst times. All like I remember it. I was so frustrating, crying, all this, but and you would never want to go through that. But then now I look back and I say I would never change any of them
Mm.
moments
Yep.
because it's molded me and made me who I am today in my career, and it's made me this fearless person. And if I can get through all them things as a little kid, as a little boy, as a man now, nothing's gonna compare to that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I want for what I've been through in my life and career already, it can't get any more difficult. So this is why
Mm.
I approach it with no fear, and I always will, and I always have. You know that fight that I did lose. You know, it was one of the worst days ever. I had not slept a wink the night before the fight. The
Mm.
whole city was ready, buzzing for the fight. And there was nothing I wanted to do more than just turn around and say, "Look, I'm not fighting. I cannot fight. I've not got it in me." But at the same time, I've not got that in me to do that. So it was
Mm.
just and how I can get through that and overcome all that. Nothing phases me now when I'm fully prepared and ready. Like if I can still do that at my worst, even half prepared, it's still going to be better than that. So I've got nothing to worry about or stress about.
Love that, man. Well, I want to get into now the point that you've turned your career around, got to where you're at today. And so, after that situation when you're at, you end up taking about a 10 month off and you end up rebuilding yourself, getting up to the featherweight division. And then you go on this massive fight and you get the opportunity with Isaac Lowe. So, I got to hear the backstory about this because I know Saudi Arabia has become, I don't necessarily want to always say the pinnacle because obviously it's different terms, but it's a massive stage. Obviously, it's different. You're part of these gigantic cards. When you get this call and this opportunity to go find Turki Al-Sheikh's card, go find the undercard for Fury Usyk too. What's going through your mind? Tell us the story of how that came to fruition.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I just fought not long before it. Like I say, is that on a small hall show, trying to build myself back, frustrated, fighting guys and knocking guys over that I kind of probably really shouldn't be in the ring with, but it was my position that I was in, and it was a situation I was in, so I had to get on with it. And
Mm-hmm.
then just out the blue, my manager phoned me, but I was already supposed to fight Isaac Lowe, which I had to pull out due to an injury. Again, shows my luck in this game. But then it turned out to be a good thing in the end because we got the rescheduled date on one of the biggest cards ever.
Yep.
But yeah, he phoned me and he said, "Look, I think I'm nearly done and I can nearly get you this low fight. We just need to get a few things finalised." And again, with the amount of things falling through in my career and upsets in my career, I couldn't get my hopes up. I was excited, but I wasn't. I was never, still never really believed it until I was in Saudi, to be honest.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, he phoned me and he said, "Look, leave it when we're going back and forward, but I'm confident we can get this done." And it was just every day on him. Where are we there? Are we there? Are we there? Yep, it's done. It's done. And I was buzzing, but I I just still didn't believe it because I just the amount of upsets and things that have fallen through in my career, I just couldn't believe it. And then I was
Mhm.
lying in bed one night, just literally dozing off, going to sleep. It was like 10:30, quarter to 11 at night, and my phone just notification, and it was a like fight poster announcement of all the fights, and I was like, no way. And I was literally dozing off, going to sleep, and that just woke me up, and I was up for the most of the night after that, just buzzing, and that was it. That was when it was real. It was literally, obviously my manager told me it was all done, but I hadn't agreed. I hadn't even signed a contract with that yet.
Mhm.
And then it was posted. The poster was posted, and I said, "Well, yep, we're going to Saudi." And it just flew by. The launch press conference was about 11 weeks out down in London, and then it felt like it was a click of the fingers, and we were getting ready to go to Saudi. And then it was
Mhm.
done, over, for one new belt, Christmas, New Year, and had a little trip away with the family and come back, and was now I'm back in and getting ready for this next fight. Time is flying, and they do say that time's flying when you're having fun. So I'm
Yep.
really back on the big stage, and I'm enjoying it.
So if I were to ask you, let's say 12, 18, 24 months ago, let's say even, when you were going through those tough times in life, do you think you ever would have imagined, like if I would have told you, hey, in 2 years or so, you're going to be in a position where you're at today, would you have believed that?
No, it's mad. Like my life and career is it's the same as if you told me when you turn pro you're going to be British Commonwealth European champion in 10 fights. No chance. No way.
Okay.
You're going to
Yep.
believe it. Um, it's same goes. It's mad. Life is mad.
Mhm.
Boxing is mad. But I'm just riding the wave and seeing how far I can go.
Absolutely, man. Well, I got a couple of questions before I let you go. And one of those is just breaking down the Isaac Lowe component again. Obviously, you won the WC International Featherweight title in that fight. You had a unanimous decision. You had a great fine performance that night. And then I got to ask, though, because you guys kind of went back and forth a little bit on social media following that fight. I know he keeps asking for the rematch. Is that something you ever would give him? I know right now, obviously, you got this book, you have championship fights and all, but is there ever a chance that we see a rematch between you and Isaac Lowe?
I think the only realistic chance would be Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury card, and the offer was there that I couldn't turn down. But
Okay.
apart from that, it's very, very pointless. I proved
Agree.
I was the better fighter, and I always knew that anyway. Um, so yeah, no, it's unlikely, but never say never.
Fair enough. Well, I got one final question for you, Lee, and that's what I was like wrapping up every single interview with, and that's talk about your legacy, man. We've already gone through your story. Your story is incredible. You've had an incredible ups and downs and preserving and getting to the point where you're at today. So I got to ask though, when you do step away from boxing, when that day comes down in the future, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered for what Lee McGregor brought to boxing and who you were as a person?
Just he fought, he took on all challenges, he fought the very best. He wore his heart on his sleeve and he left everything in that ring. And I can honestly say I've done that every single time I've stepped in the ring, and I'll continue to do that going forward. There's no way that I will ever lose due to not trying hard enough.
Mm,
That's fact. So yeah, just to be remembered that he was a warrior. He fought anyone. He took on all challenges. He ducked no one.
mm.
And yeah, I've done that so far, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Absolutely. Well, Lee, I appreciate you so much for coming on today, man. It was a blessing to know you and have you on the show, and I can't wait to see what God's got in store for you come May 24th against Nathaniel Collins.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless.
Nice one.
See you, man.
Bye. Mate.